You're listening to the Fit Bottom Girls podcast, the only podcast for active, athletic, and adventurous women and those who aspire to be. We've got your back as you navigate the ups and the downs of motherhood, midlife, and menopause. I'm your host, Allison Hylett, here to remind you that female isn't fragile. I'm a strength, conditioning, and nutrition coach who's trained hundreds of women to achieve their goals to get fit, lift heavy, go the distance, and feel like a badass in every area of their lives. Each week, you'll hear from me and some of our awesome guests as we educate and empower you during each stage of your fitness journey, whether you're already crushing it, fighting to get back out there, or starting from day one. So friends, let's get into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fit Bottom Girls podcast. So here we are at the beginning of a brand new year, and there's a palpable energy of possibility, and many of us are experiencing this surge of motivation as we set our sights on the big things we want to do in the next 365 days. So today, I called in the big guns. I've got with me on the show FBG Alex Kennedy, who is the editorial assistant on the FBG blog, but is also an amazing mindset and life coach for high-achieving women who want it all without the burnout. And we're talking about the mindset pitfalls that we see in ourselves and our clients that hold them and us back from achieving our goals in a sustainable and satisfying way. I am so stoked to share our stories and our tips with you so you can use them to plan for an epic new year. So let's get into it. FBG Alex, thanks for joining me on the show.
Thank you for having me here. I'm so excited.
We are recording this right around the new year, and that is the time of year where people are reflecting on the year that's just passed and the one that's incoming. And many people will make resolutions or set goals around their health and fitness at this time of the year. And that is not what we're here to talk about. We're actually here to talk about the stuff that gets in the way of people changing their behavior and transforming their life. So Alex, what are we talking about today?
Well, first, I love that we're shifting the dialogue from the normal things we see around this time. And in a sense, I think that this is the foundation and the precursor that allows these potential resolutions or self-promises to actually come to fruition, because a lot of this shit gets in the way, as you said. So we're going to be listing 5 beliefs to leave behind in 2025. I am so excited to dive into each of these. And I think that we have both probably personally experienced all of them at some point. And we both see this happen a lot with our clients, especially there's that rah-rah feeling around January 1st. Everyone feels good. And then we know what happens. We know the year progresses and these things start to stand in the way. So we're going to create awareness of these things so you can catch them before they totally derail everything.
Yes. I have a lot of people that'll come into coaching or I'll do a discovery call with them. And one of the first things that usually comes up is like a recognition that many people don't have a health and fitness problem. At the core, what they have is a behavior change problem or a mindset problem or a belief system that's standing in the way.
Yep.
And it's so universal. I mean, at some point, we have all felt the frustration of feeling like our own thoughts, our own feelings, our own actions are what's getting in the way of making the changes that we know we need to make in our lives. And in fact, self-sabotage can be the biggest barrier to reaching goals. It's not always all the things that are outside of our control that are standing in our way to improving our health and well-being. It's oftentimes these thoughts and feelings and actions that we feel we don't have as much control over, but it doesn't have to be that way. So Alex, let's dive in. What is the first one that we're talking about today?
The first one we're talking about is the mindset or the belief that I have to do it all. So this can be, a few examples might be overscheduling yourself and really, really hustling to get everything done, leaky boundaries, not asking for support, but there are so many other sneaky ways that this shows up in our life. So what are some ways that you see this showing up and what are the challenges that surround this behavior or this mindset?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, there's several different reasons why somebody could feel like they have to do it all, right? One of the first ones that comes to mind for me is when you said overscheduling, because I am a classic overscheduler. And it's for really difficult habits.
I didn't know that about you.
Everybody who's ever met me knows this about me. And for me and for a lot of my clients, it's really the false estimation of resources versus demand. So very few days will everything go perfectly. So if we are calculating our output based on our capacity on the days where everything is going perfectly, which is 1% of the time, if we're lucky, then the other 99% of the time, we are been stretched too thin.
Yep.
It's like, are you an overscheduler?
I actually used to be an overscheduler, but the thing that really changed it for me, so I don't know if it was last year, maybe the year before, I got really into cycle syncing. So scheduling things according to my menstrual cycle. And that was a really helpful way to remember that like our capacity changes with our body, with the seasons that we go through. And it really helped me like look at my schedule and be like, none of this shit is necessary.
Yeah.
Like I'm making this so much more difficult for myself. So I'm a recovering overscheduler.
Yeah. Well, and it's completely unreasonable. Again, if we are setting our schedule based on our best 1% of days, just do the math. It's not going to go well for most of the time. So I think a lot of times it's that expectations, demands, incongruence, right? Where we think we should be able to meet all of these demands, but what's really happening is we're estimating improperly.
Yeah.
Another one, like you said, there are many different flavors. Is that all or nothing mentality. The only way that this task can be a success is if I do it, because it has to be done perfectly. And there's no possibility of success here unless I do it all and I do it perfectly.
And I finish it right now. That's the other, that one runs deep for me. That is something that I really, really had to work through is like relinquishing a little bit of that control. Like, let's be real, the feeling of control feels good. However, when we try to have so much control over things that things are getting out of control as a result, we need to look at them. And I used to be the person that if I started something, I'm finishing it today. That could mean recording an entire course in one day. That could mean rebuilding a whole website and email funnel in one day. And part of me, my ego loves that this is my superpower. You need something done, I got it. I need something done, I got it. But then I'm like out for the rest of the year, you know?
You just burned through your whole battery for all the rest of the year. Yeah.
For no reason. And I think that a lot of times it starts innocently, like I'm excited about something or I have this cool idea and I really want to get it out there. But I'm a classic bulldozer, you know? And so catching that pattern has been really important. But even deeper, the underlying layer of that is I was addicted to this false sense of urgency. And I think when it comes to that, I have to do it all, even though like on the surface or in our conversations, we're like, I'm struggling, I'm drowning, I'm overscheduled, I'm this and I'm that. Our nervous systems are chronically dysregulated and have learned that the only way that I can take action is in this chaos. And so we created it in our reality. And that was a huge like aha moment for me, but it was also a huge stepping stone of how I can actually overcome this by regulating my nervous system and taking things slower and making one choice at a time to change this.
This is a recipe for burnout. There's a certain number of things in a day that you could be ridiculously controlled about. And it's not all the things on my to-do list. At a certain point, I have to rank them. And even now, as I brought a team on to support me, there was a lot of this like, okay, what really, seriously, Allison, what needs to be you and what can be delegated to other people? I'm definitely not a control freak, I don't think. And you might disagree with me.
No, I agree with you.
I'm not a control freak, but I am a recovering perfectionist in a lot of ways. So I do consciously have to work on, it's okay that it's not done the way I would have done it, especially in my business. This is a hard thing for me. It's not like my household where my husband puts the toilet paper roll on backwards from how I think it should be done, or he folds the towels in half and I think they should be folded in thirds. It's not
like third is the only way.
That's the only acceptable way to fold towels. Right. So it's not even that. We're talking more high stakes, right? This is my livelihood and the livelihood of everybody who works here. And so it is a bigger challenge for me. I've been able to let go of the things in my household. And when I see the towels folded improperly, I don't make it his problem. I just fix it. And I don't make a big deal out of all of it. But it is a difficult thing in certain areas of our lives to start to be okay with things being done in some other way than how you would do. But it's a good practice because what I've learned is that in my household, if he folds the towels wrong, the house doesn't burn down. The world keeps spinning. And if the toilet paper is on backwards, then it's okay. Nothing, we haven't dropped into a fourth dimension. Everything is fine. And so for me, starting slowly at things that were low stakes and giving somebody else kind of permission to do it their way or for their way to be okay allowed me to get to this point where I'm okay with letting things in my business be done a different way than I would have done them.
Totally, totally. Building that proof bank and like building the self-trust to relinquish that control, but also the trust in others. And I think that it comes down to that. When we're a high achieving, badass, I can get shit done kind of person, we know that we're going to do a great job, but we need to also know that other people can do a great job in their own way. Yeah, exactly as you said, even if it doesn't look totally. I'm gonna take your advice because I'm like a towel lunatic. Like those small things, like, yeah, my fiance is gonna love this podcast already because I'm gonna try to chill a little bit more.
Yeah. And I think it's really important too, what you mentioned about letting other people in, because I think what I see in my own relationships and my clients and their relationships is that if you have people in your life who you never trust to do simple tasks, they start to feel that you don't trust them to do simple tasks. And it really can be corrosive to relationships. If they don't feel like you trust them enough to do these things and you feel like they're only going to do it wrong, then it really is not fertile ground for relationships.
Totally. Yeah. They can feel that just as much as you're putting it out there.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And I think with this, one of the flavors of I have to do it all is just not asking for support. And this is one that I struggle with because in my family unit, my mom, my sisters, I've been the fixer. I've been the one that everybody goes to in chaos. I can remain calm and I can take care of things. Everybody else is losing their minds and I am just grounded. And I'll tell you, to your point earlier, I do a really good job in the moment, but when it's over, I need 4 days to recover. But what's interesting about that is not asking for support works against us because if you look at like the research on self-control, on our ability to regulate our own behavior, 75% of people think that they're not reaching their goals because they don't have the self-control, the discipline, the willpower to get there. But really what we see is that the people with the most self-control or appear to have the most self-control are the ones that use it least. And what they're actually doing is setting up their environment to be more supportive. So they're asking for help and they are seeking coaches or they're asking their partner for help or they're giving their kids chores to do. They're asking for help. They're setting boundaries and they're saying no to more things. So it's not just about buckle down and get it done. Actually, the research shows it's a much broader picture than that. If you step out of, I have to push through, I have to bulldoze, and you look, the most successful people are asking for help, setting boundaries, and saying no.
Yep. It really does take a village, honestly. When we think back to primal times, it took a village. You needed everyone around you to help. This person did this, that person did that. And that community is how people thrived. No one single caveman was hunting, gathering, cooking dinner, feeding the baby. That just wasn't happening.
Yeah, they burn out and they die.
A bear would definitely get them.
Definitely. Definitely. At my low burnout points, bears would definitely get me.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? So yeah, this one I feel like we could have a whole separate episode just on this. Do we feel good to go into the second belief?
So let's get into the second one.
Okay, cool. So this one, I feel like this is also multi-layered, but the second belief to leave behind in 2025 is I need to know how so-and-so feels about me, or external validation in general as a source of self-worth.
Yeah, as a business owner, as a content creator, the flavor that I often see this in my own life showing up is I need to see how many likes I have. I need to see how many followers I have. I need to see how many downloads of my podcast I have. In my heart and soul, I know that the work that I'm doing is good work. I have lots of clients for changing people's lives. We're creating really great and compelling podcasts. We're doing really great job with creating good content. And I feel so good about that. And then the joy is sucked away because the goddamn algorithm, but at its core, it is, I need someone else to tell me what I already know. I need that external validation in order for it to really sink into my soul.
Yeah, totally. Honestly, I felt the same way for a really long time. When I used to be a hairstylist, I grew my Instagram very quickly and I could post anything and people loved it. And then when I switched into different niches and different like paths, it's different. And it's so funny because I feel like this is what I've noticed with social media, which is annoying in accordance to this validation from external being a source of self-worth. I could post an iguana falling from a tree and it
And you
will
did.
literally get, and I did, and the iguana is okay for anyone wondering. Let me know if you want to see the video. But on my stories, it got like 800 views. That's astronomical for me. But then I'll literally post a simple action step that if you do this today, it'll change your life, and it gets 20 views. And
Yeah.
it's the fact that we're relying on platforms for entertainment or mind-numbing things to change people's lives.
I posted on this a while ago. So I live near Washington, D.C., unbelievably humid here in the summertime. And I went for a run and I did just like 15-second clip of me after my run and scanning down. You could see that it looked like I had run through a fire hose. That was the whole reel. 180,000 views. Is this the first time you've seen a soaked person before? I don't understand why that, but it did. It went totally viral. And it didn't result in me getting any followers or any meaningful impact to my business or to any part of what I put into the world. It was just a whole bunch of people saw it, right? And that for me was a big wake up call because, like your iguana, I realized that I'm looking at these numbers as validation of what I believe to be true. I believe I'm doing good work. I'm looking to see that people like it and that they're sharing it and that they're following it. But that's not what that number shows. That number shows how entertained people feel by your content. And I'm not out here creating a lot of silly, entertaining content. When you're trying to grow a business or you're trying to grow a platform, for me, I'd rather be producing meaningful, impactful, compelling content than entertaining content. So for me, it's a mismatch of, I think it means one thing, that external validation. And really all it means was you were entertaining enough for the algorithm to show you to other people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think at the end of the day, the message we're trying to send is not for entertainment purposes. It's for life-changing purposes, damn it.
I don't get paid based on my follower count. There's a different business model there. For some people, their whole job is influencer / content creator, and they get paid based on views and they get paid based on how entertaining their content is. But as a business owner who makes money off of selling coaching services and impactful products and meaningful content, we don't make money off of entertainment. So it's literally like a drain on our energy and it's not impacting our bottom line.
Absolutely. I think the shift that changed things for me, even though it does still like feel like a dagger in the heart sometimes when I'm posting something that I think is so awesome and it literally gets 2 likes. Like that's my favorite, 2 likes. Yeah, I'm like, what do you mean 2 likes? But anyways, I will always say to myself, if even one person sees this, I did my job. I did my job. I am posting this for one single person who needs to hear this today, who wants to see this today. And that's all that matters because at the end of the day, I know this is so cliche and this goes around the internet all the time, but it's like, we're mad at 250 people viewing our reel. But then if we had 250 people in a room listening to us speak, like that's a lot of eyes and a lot of ears and a lot of potential impact. And just one person, if you could have a conversation with a stranger on the street today and change their life, that would be more impactful than screaming into Times Square with nobody hearing you.
Yeah. But I love that you shifted away from it being a validation of your work and your worth to it's not about me. It's about the person that I'm creating this content for. And that's where I keep coming back to with the content, with the blogs, with the podcasts is the people that are listening to this need to hear it. And it's about them. It's not about me. It pulls that thread and strips it away. And then you have the whole non-social media, non-internet side of it, just being overly preoccupied with other people's opinions of you. And I know it is cliche now at this point, but it's none of your business what other people think about you. But that's hard as a human because we are a species that thrived in groups and it mattered what people thought of you because if you were ostracized from your community, it could be a death sentence.
Yeah.
So it is wired in us to care. So I don't like the advice of like, just don't care what people think about you. Because come on, unless you're a complete sociopath, you're going to care what people think about you. And you need that. We need that for order. We need some level of caring about how people perceive you that is healthy and adaptive, but it becomes maladaptive when you can't connect to how you feel about yourself except through the eyes of other people.
Absolutely. And that goes even a step further to like doing or not doing things based on how other people might respond. I think that being okay with knowing that we are going to care what people think. And I love that you just normalize that because it's not something that just goes away. However, you can still move on in your life and make decisions based on what you desire, what you need, what you want, without needing the approval of every Tom, Dick, and Harry that you come across. And I think that it goes beyond just like, I need to know how people feel about me, but it comes down to self-trust. Do I trust myself to make this decision without somebody else telling me what to do, or without getting 15 other opinions that I now have to try to weigh out? And that's when we get cloudy. That's where our own intuitive responses to things that we want or things that we find valuable, we can't hear that anymore. And it's because we're valuing the other person or people or group. We're valuing how they feel about us more than how we feel about ourselves.
Yeah, and that's not going to lead you to having more confidence. It's a practice that if perpetuated, if continued, you are going to feel a continued decrease in your confidence, not an increase. So when people are working through this or they're working on developing more confidence, a huge part of that is just valuing your own opinion over the opinion of others and recognizing that for every person that agrees with you or thinks you're doing a good job, there are at least one, potentially up to 100 other people who don't agree with you or think you're doing a good job. So finding that the ones who matter most are the ones that I'm more focused on can be a good step in the middle. But really, truly going inward and knowing why you're making certain decisions and coming to these decisions on your own, knowing that they are what's in the best interest for you, and then really committing to that and valuing your opinion, your thought process, your intuition over the opinion of people who don't have to live with the outcome of your decision. So of course, it might be more convenient for other people in your life for you to stop defending your boundaries. They might love that, but that's not good for you. And you're the one who has to deal with the outcome of it. They may benefit from you not having boundaries, but you're certainly not going to benefit. So you have to understand that everybody's motivation is different and not everybody is looking at your best interests. They're looking for their own best interests, and their best interests are not necessarily your best interests.
Totally. And if they do line up, awesome. But a lot of the time, that self-sacrifice behavior is at the sacrifice of your own best interest. And so, yeah, this is definitely a mindset that we need to leave behind. Do not take this into 2025. Remember that there is no better source than the self-source. Start self-sourcing, stop outsourcing. Unless you need help on your team, then you should outsource.
Yes, then ask for help. Then ask for support. Don't ask for people to validate you. Just ask for support.
Love that. Love that distinction.
Hey, you. I wanted to press pause on this episode for a second to talk about your fitness goals. You know, those sweet dreams of being more active and feeling athletic and confident and doing epic, adventurous shit. Or maybe you just feel like you're getting older, because we're all getting older. And you, like me, never want to give up on carrying all the groceries into the house in one shot, or picking up that heavy Amazon box without worrying that you're going to throw your back out. I know you're busy. You're probably listening to this episode while multitasking. Oh yeah, I'm on to you. And the biggest thing that's stopping you from getting strong and fit is knowing how to use your workout time most effectively. Like exactly which exercises are worth your time, when to do them, and the number of sets and reps to get to your goals. You probably also tried other fitness apps and programs out there, only to feel like they weren't right for your needs. You want a program that has it all: strength, power, cardio, mobility, and recovery, all built right in without spending your whole life in the gym. And you want experienced coaches around to answer your questions, and a community at your back to help you stay motivated and inspired. Look, I've been coaching women for a long time now, and the truth is that you don't need another fad diet or complicated, time-consuming workout routine to support you as you age. You just need to train smarter with simple, progressive workouts and a plan that's designed for your body and your life, whether you're navigating motherhood, midlife, or menopause. And if this sounds like exactly what you've been missing, I invite you to join Stronger 365, a progressive strength, power, and conditioning training membership for women like you who are ready to stop winging it and take their training to the next level with more structure and support. And the best part, this program has 3 different options, so you can choose your own fitness adventure based on your goals, how much time you have to train, and what equipment you have, whether you've got access to a full gym or, like me, work out at home. And it's run by me, Allison Heilig, and my awesome team at Miles to Go Athletics. Head over to the show notes for all the details and to join our membership community. And as an FBG, your first 2 weeks are on me. And now, let's get back to the episode.
All right, awesome. Let's go into our third belief to leave behind as you enter the new year. And it is, that's just the way I am, AKA a fixed mindset. I'm just be quiet on this one because I know that this is you. This is everything. You're bursting. Just go.
Yeah. This is one that's like nails on a chalkboard for me. I'm just lazy. I've always been a bad sleeper. I'm not good at this stuff. I've never been an athlete. I'm never able to follow through. Nothing I do works. You have decided we can't fix it because you've said, this is the way that I am. You've decided that there's something about you that cannot be changed, and that is going to keep you from success. That thing that can't be changed is the reason you won't be successful. So you're not going to try. I've been coaching people in my business for 10 years. And in that decade, and the research here backs me up, that people with a fixed mindset give up more easily. They will not persevere in the face of obstacles because that's just the way that I am. Can't change. They'll continue to struggle with things, and they are less likely to try hard or ask for help and have success changing the outcome. Because again, they have pre-decided that I am the problem and I can't change. So what's the point? And the funny thing is that they show up, they pay for coaching. They come in and they pay for coaching. So there's some part of them that believes there's something out there that will help. But I think in those situations, what they're thinking is going to happen is not that they change, but that we find a way around their fixed traits, that we have some hack that's going to unlock it. And really, no, the way that we move people forward is by helping them adopt a growth mindset. People have the ability to change and adapt. They have the ability to grow. We didn't come into this world knowing how to ride a bike. We had to do it, fail, scream, skin our knees, try it again. It was a long process to getting to a place where we could balance on a 2-wheeled bike. So why is anything else in life different? If you have always struggled with X, like I've always struggled to get enough protein in every day. I'm just never able to. Nothing I do works. Okay, you haven't found the way that works for you yet. But there's potential. The first step is just adding a little bit of a but and accepting that right now that's maybe how it feels, but there's always potential for change. And if you don't believe in that change, there's not much I'm going to be able to do to help you.
Totally. It literally taking the sentence from just being this is the way it is and adding additional possibility. And that's like the mental standpoint, the verbal standpoint, the way that we're communicating with ourselves, but we can feel the difference. We know that our thoughts create our feelings, create our actions, create our results. And so when you say a sentence like, I just can't get enough protein in, it feels closed. It feels fixed, as we know. It feels like there's a period at the end and that's it.
Yep.
But when we say, I can't get enough protein in right now, but I'm willing to try different ways, or I haven't figured out a way to get enough protein in yet. And immediately you say, well, how does that feel to me? And it feels possible. I feel capable. I feel curious.
Yeah.
And curiosity is often the antidote for this fixed mindset.
Yes, I was saying we got to experiment. You haven't found the right way yet, but let's experiment. Let's try some shit. And that curiosity of like, okay, why hasn't it worked in the past? Besides, there's something about you that's wrong with you that you can't change. Just stop with that, okay? What really is in the way? And a lot of times with the protein one, for example, because this is an easy example to use, they're not pre-planning their meals. They're just winging.
Yep.
Or they don't have enough protein-heavy meal options that they like. Or their spouse cooks all the meals and they haven't yet said, hey, I need you to up the protein. There's something else going on. I promise you are not the problem.
Totally. All those examples they go towards organization, pre-planning, or being prepared to actually make that change instead of just showing up one day and be like, I'm going to change this now. But I don't have any systems in place
Yes.
to make that work, right?
Yeah, there's no intentionality behind your actions. You're just sitting there crossing your fingers going, oh my God, I hope I get my protein in today. And then at the end of the day, you look and you're like, I didn't get my protein in today. See, I'm the problem. But no, in order to be successful with things, we need systems, we need skills, and we need support. You don't have any of those right now. You're just showing up and hoping that magically protein will jump into your mouth.
Yeah.
No, I promise that what you think about you that can't be changed is not the only thing standing in your way from success. Maybe there are things about you that you can't change. For example, I work with a lot of women who are going through perimenopause. So there's some symptoms that are just part of this time in our life, and we can't necessarily do much about it. But in those situations, we do find ways to work with that. Remember, there's two parts of this. One is there's something about myself that I can't change. And that's the reason why I'm not successful. So if we look at it, it's like, yeah, you can't change this, but that's not going to be the reason why you're not successful. We're going to find other ways to work around these symptoms. We're going to work with your medical providers. We're going to address the symptoms, and then we're going to work on getting you back. So it's that coupling of I can't change this, and that's the reason why I'm not succeeding.
Totally. And the circumstance oftentimes is unchangeable. But again, going back to that thought model, the thoughts we have about it, the feelings we create, the actions we take, that's what creates your result.
Yes.
So changing the thought, and therefore all of the rest of those snowballing effects will happen after.
I say just leave the door open. Leave
Yeah.
the door open for possibility.
Yep, I love that. And from a coach standpoint, especially if you're someone who already works with a coach or that's something that's on your mind going into the new year, it's literally our job to call you forward on these fixed mindsets.
Yes.
And sometimes I'm like, okay, so like, I love you, right? But are you hearing yourself? This sounds like there's only one way. Like it can only be this way. And so it's our job to lovingly call that forward, make you aware of it if you're not already, and then also start to spark that curiosity. What if there is another way? What if that's not just the way you are? Sometimes those questions alone can really open things up for people and be like, oh shit, I didn't even consider that.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you get trapped inside your head and your own web of thinking and not even see. I still call myself out periodically on fixed mindset. It shows up in all sorts of different frontiers and areas. With fixed and growth mindset, they can be domain specific. So you might be somebody who has a growth mindset. I do in a lot of things, but there are still many little tiny areas and segments of my life where I find myself saying, I'm not good at that. I can't do that. And so I have coaches. I cannot stress enough how important it is to have somebody there who is objective, looking at your situation. I think a lot of people think that coaches are there to hold your nose to the grindstone and make sure you're doing your stuff. No, our job is to help you find out why you're not doing this stuff and help you to navigate through that. And a lot of times it is your own thinking.
Totally. Yeah. Coaching is about taking that bird's eye view and helping you see your blind spots.
Yes.
And yeah, I just love that. And this goes perfectly and even deeper into our next point, which is the belief that I'm so lazy and lack discipline.
Ooh.
So even like it's kind of a segue from the last belief that we just talked about, but this one's rooted even more. So yes, fixed thinking, fixed mindset, but also rooted in self-criticism.
Yeah.
And how self-criticism probably not going to be the best way to actually change or regulate your behavior. So
yeah, as somebody who is an A++ student in self-criticism, I can attest to I get farther with self-compassion. And this is one that's really, it's a difficult sell to high performers because we have self-motivated using this leverage of self-criticism for a long time. And to some degree, we have a lot of success with it. It's hard to navigate through self-criticism because, and I hear it all the time with like, why can't I get my shit together? And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Because I'll tell you, when you approach the problem like that, like you are trying to go to the gym 3 days a week. And that's the plan we have in place. That's what we're working on. And you come in for your weekly check-in and you're like, I got to the gym 1 day this week. I don't know why I can't get my shit together. And it goes on like that for a couple of weeks where you're like, oh, I can't get it together. And the critical voice starts to just grow and grow and grow. And usually what I have to do as the coach, and this is where good coaching comes in, is that I don't assume they're lazy and they can't get their shit together. Laziness is not even a thing. If you are avoiding a task, you're doing something else. You're meeting some other need. Maybe that need is in alignment with your values. Maybe it's not. But I don't assume that you are the problem, that you can't get your shit together, that you're lazy, that you have no discipline. And the reason why that's such a powerful thing to explore, well, why am I struggling to get to the gym 3 days a week? Think about it this way. If you didn't do what was expected, and you imagine that the person who expected it of you is just going to stand over you and berate you, and they don't care why you did what you did. They don't want your excuses. They just are screaming at you. That is the equivalent of, I don't know why I can't get my shit together and just so lazy. I have no self-discipline. The critical voice in your head is so fucking me to you
Yeah.
that you can't sit there long enough in order to actually understand your own behavior and habits. You can't stay there in the discomfort and in that mean space long enough to understand what's actually going on. And if you don't understand the underlying reasons for your behavior, you can't adjust it moving forward. So self-compassion offers that quiet space where you can
I
say,
literally was just gonna say that.
yeah, it's this quiet space where we calm down that bitch that just wants to tear you apart. And we say, look, okay, I did the best I could. It's not what I hope for going forward. That's okay, right? But I did the best I could. Now let me see, what were the true barriers here? What can I do moving forward to change this behavior? So self-criticism isn't letting yourself off the hook. It's quieting down the meanness long enough that you can understand why you did what you did and then change your outcome moving.
Totally. And as you were describing that, I was picturing being absolutely screamed at and how there's no space to think of anything else. There's no space to question or to wonder why this happened the way it did. But imagine speaking to like a close friend or someone who's soft and gentle and they're like,
A child.
"Oh, yeah, exactly. Okay, why do you think that happened? Walk me through it. Tell me your day. Tell me your normal day if we're using the not getting to the gym example. What else happened?" And you have the space, the clarity, and going back to nervous system regulation, you're chilling. You're not in defense mode against
Right.
either yourself or the voice in your head or whatever. And something that I always tell my clients is when we're speaking out of fear, or the voice in our head is speaking, I should say, fear feels very like urgent and pressing and like aggressive
I
and
gotta
like
get out of here
they
now.
need something right now. Whereas intuition and compassion, they go hand in hand, and that feels more quiet, exactly like you said. It's more of a pull or an invitation or a curiosity rather than a push or a force. And that's how you know the decision that you're making or how to look at a situation. That's how you know, how am I approaching this? Is it out of like absolute fear and self-loathing and self-criticism? Or is it like a loving, compassionate look at like, okay, I'm not super happy with how this went. Maybe you have feelings about it. Maybe you're upset. Maybe you're frustrated. Maybe you're disappointed. That's cool. We're not trying to get rid of the feeling. We're trying to give them space.
Yep.
What is this disappointment about? What happened? Why do you feel this way? And that's where we can really peel back the layers of the onion at that point.
Yeah, think about somebody that you care about. When they don't meet your expectations, it typically works better if you give them the benefit of the doubt and you explore why they failed to meet the expectation. Was I not clear? Did you not understand my instructions? I mean, I could assume that the reason why my husband doesn't do what I expected him is because he's a lazy jerk. I don't think I would be married very long. So like, we don't do that to other people, but yet it's so relentless on ourselves. We are so mean to ourselves. And these people that are stuck in this pattern of self-criticism are they're going to stay stuck in that,
Right.
because if you can't make space for the possibility that there is something other than your laziness and your lack of discipline that is causing the issue, then again, we come back to fixed mindset. Can you even change that?
Yeah.
Right? And that is, again, this dead end, this feeling of like, you're just perpetually frustrated with yourself and you're not helping yourself understand why this keeps happening from a curiosity perspective. And therefore, you're never going to move forward.
Absolutely. And I think the phrase, or even though I might butcher the phrase right now, that has really helped me with that is just remembering that change doesn't come from self-criticism. It doesn't come from self-hate. It doesn't come from getting yourself in trouble. It just doesn't. It comes from that compassionate, understanding dialogue with yourself admitting where you might have fucked up and where things need to change next time, and then being open to learning from it and moving forward in a more like gentle way.
Yeah, that's growth. Compassion paves the way for growth.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, let's get to our fifth and final belief, which is I don't have the time to focus on my health. Or like focus on blank.
Yeah, on whatever goal. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This one is very funny because it comes from overwhelm paralysis, which I'm sure you're going to touch on a little bit. But this very same overwhelmed feeling, I don't have time to focus on this. I'm focusing on other things and I'm so busy and this and that. It will also be the same brain that will try to overhaul your life all at once.
Yes.
So it's funny that you said earlier, like, I need to get my shit together. And this is where I think people play in extremes where it's like, I have nothing together. And then like, I need to overhaul my life by Tuesday. And we know that sounds good in the moment. You're motivated, blah, blah, blah. It's great. But it quickly contributes to the very overwhelm and leads to doing nothing instead, right? It's another all or nothing situation.
I see this one grow out of the self-criticism where we get to a place where we are so fed up with ourselves, our behavior, the way our lives are going. So we decide we're going to change everything all at once. And we're really motivated at certain times of the year. We're really motivated by that self-loathing and disgust. And we go 1,000 miles an hour, overhauling everything in our lives. And we are able to do it for like 4 days. We're white knuckling it. And then 4 days in, we collapse because we're exhausted from the effort of trying to overhaul our whole lives. The battery is completely dead. And then we sit there and we go, see, it didn't work again.
Yeah.
Right?
Repeat
No,
cycle.
the approach is not working. So it is this all or nothing mindset too. I see it when people will say, I will focus on my health when my kids go to college, or I will focus on my health somewhere down the line. I have a couple of professors. I'll focus more on my workouts when the semester's over. And it would be great if it worked out that way. I understand there are some phases in our lives where we're fully underwater and we need to focus on just survival at that point. Hopefully those periods are short-lived, but it's never just that one period. It's always like that. It's the next thing in your way. Then it's the next thing in your way. Yeah, it's always going to be something in your way because you're just putting it down the line. So there's a little bit of all or nothing here in this of I have to do a lot in order to have an impact. And focusing on your health can be complicated or it can be really fucking simple. It can just be, we're going to focus on eating more fruits and veggies today. We're going to focus on going for a walk. It can be really, really basic because if you make the task so big and ambiguous, like I'm going to focus on my health, but I can't right now because I don't have enough time. Focus on your health. What does that even mean? That's so ambiguous. That sounds so huge. So of course your brain is going, I don't want to do that because it sounds like a lot of work. And what really gets me on this is that these times in our lives where we are being pushed to our max, and I'm in this boat too. So this is not me saying I finished the race. Haha, look at me. No, I'm still out there running this one with you. But when I'm stressed, when I'm overwhelmed, the first thing that goes out the window is my self-care. I stop sleeping as much. I start working more. I stop doing my workouts. I start eating whatever's handy and I stop making meals. And really, we're shooting ourselves in the foot at that point because it's during those moments of our lives. Those are the times we need to be leaning into our self-care, not abandoning it. We need to be making our self-care simpler, hitting the easy button, focus on sleep, exercise, nutrition, because those are key to our ability to meet the demands of everything else that's overwhelming us.
Absolutely. Literally took the words out of my mouth. Self-care, whatever that looks like for you or however you want to adjust that to make it work with your lifestyle, that builds the capacity to handle it all. Bottom line, if you want to build your capacity, if you want to look challenges in the face or see a busy period ahead and be like, no, I can handle this even though it's busy, it's because you've already prepped yourself. You've taken intentional time to be like, I'm going to make sure that I'm fueled in any way possible to handle these next things. And the thought of, I don't have time to focus on blank, we'll use health as an example here. That mindset is signaling now to your self-worth that you're not even worthy of the bare minimum.
You're not on your own priority list.
And that's not going to get you very far. I think this conversation specifically of putting yourself first and blah, 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 I think it falls on deaf ears at this point because we hear it so much, but how much are we really applying it? How much are we realizing how important and impactful this is to just build that momentum one single step at a time? That's it. You just have to do the next smallest step. So anyone listening to this right now, like what is the one next smallest step that you can do towards whatever goal you're working towards? And guess what? Whatever you decide, cut it in half, make it smaller.
Yep.
You already picked something too big.
I have hanging over my desk here, just beyond the laptop, a little menu of 3 to 5 minute things that I can do to pause from those stressful moments. And they're really simple, like pet your dogs or crawl into the dog bed with your dogs. Take 5 long, slow, deep breaths. Go get a drink of water. They're very simple things, because if you condition yourself to never have any focus on your health during busy times of your life, then you're going to learn really quickly that that pattern gets reinforced. And every time things get busy or stressful in your life, you're going to just stop paying attention to your health. And I'm going to tell you now, this may be a spoiler alert for your life, but you are never going to get to a time in your life where you're not feeling some stress and some pressure and some overwhelm. There's a lot happening outside of your control in your life. So we don't have the ability to set up our lives in a way where we won't be faced with those. So it's really important to create these bite-sized nuggets that allow that value of your health to stay in the mix, even if it's not one of the top priorities. Just keep it in the mix.
Totally. And those things are like those, I can just glance up at these and make that single decision. What I was thinking when you were saying that is to bring myself back to human.
Yes.
Because when you say, I don't have time to focus on blank, you're probably operating at machine capacity.
Yep.
In all areas, if you are a parent, you're a parent machine. If you're a hardworking overachiever or whatever, you're on the work machine. You're in machine mentality.
Totally.
And those are the moments where you can just take a hot second in the midst of all of that to bring yourself back to human. Because guess what? Underneath all of those things and the tasks and the achievements and the responsibilities, there's a human. And that human needs to be oiled and fueled and taken care of so all of those other things can function.
Yeah, there are just general things that we have to do to keep the things that are important to us operational. And when the pressure is up, when the stakes are higher, operational becomes critical. Because if you are shut down completely by not taking care of yourself, then your capacity decreases and then nothing's getting done. And I've totally been that, where I end up like super sick. I don't even think I have a virus or something. I think my system is just like, no.
Doing anything in hand to be like, lay down.
If you're not listening to me whisper at you, I'm going to scream real loud.
I've been there.
And then I'm just going to take your ass out.
Absolutely. It's like the rug gets pulled out from under you, because it's like, I gave you so many chances.
Yeah.
And now this is like a threat to us. So I'm going to have to do something seemingly worse
to
get
down.
you to relax. Like to really get you to relax.
I vividly remember, like, biggest wake up call in my life was I was 34 years old and I was in the hospital because I had shingles because of the stress that I was putting on myself. Wow. This is my system telling me, you have not been paying attention. And now we're going to make sure you can't ignore us anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was something you said earlier that I want to touch on, because I think it's great. The system has to be operational. So self-care allows our external things, our job, our family, our house, whatever, to be operational. Also the question of, do you want it to just be operational, or do you want it to be thriving? Yeah. Because you, being the sole driver of the ship that is your life, get to decide whether you're just skating by, just doing the bare minimum. I'm picturing the meme of The Weeknd running through the halls in the blinding light video, just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
You could be thriving. And I don't think enough people put together that self-care will make me thrive. Making time to focus on the things that I need to do, whether it be self-care or health or a goal or a desire or something you love doing, that contributes to you thriving. We're not made to wake up, work, and sleep. Wake up, do responsibilities, and do it all again the next day. There has to be some human mixed.
Please let there be more to life than that. Because I always know the red flag feeling for me is it feels like I'm treading water. I'm working really hard. This is a lot of effort, but it feels like I'm not any closer to the shore. I haven't gone under yet. But when I feel I'm treading water, it's like, you know what? Let's just stop. I don't want to live my life feeling like I'm treading water. It's exhausting. And so I think all of these mindsets, these beliefs that we talked about today, can really be very crippling. And perpetually self-sabotaging.
Yep.
And so I want to continue my work to leave these beliefs, whatever is left of them, behind and not carry them into 2025. Because, even where they still show up, it can really be difficult to make any progress when you're holding on to these beliefs.
Yep. Absolutely. And I think it just comes down to self-awareness, as you said, noticing those feelings of, okay, do I feel like I'm drowning? Do I feel like I'm treading water? And like taking an objective look, that bird's eye view that we were talking about before, and just trying to see what needs to change. What is the smallest, simplest step that I can take right now to adjust what has happened?
Yeah. And so this is a really good time to just talk about, if you are somebody who's listening to this podcast and you are like, yes, okay, I see that in myself. Now that you bring it up, that's a good sign that you should consult with a coach. So Miles to Go Athletics owns Fit Bottom Girls now. We're the parent company. And that is my company. It's been actively working to help women be active, athletic, and adventurous, and to help those who aspire to be as well. So we have a bunch of fitness coaches. It's different areas of specialty. And Alex is actually our mindset coach. So so we have a hop-in community chat. We are working with people one-on-one to break through these barriers. So if these resonate with you and you're like, oh my God, you're in my brain, please know that these are not final, that there are people out there who are equipped to help you navigate these. And you can reach out to us and we'll let you know what it is we do, how we might be able to help you support your goals. And I'll link to that in the show notes. Anything you want to add, Alex?
I just think this was such a great discussion, especially at this time of the year. I think it's really going to help to change the narrative moving into the new year, and just not only have our listeners look at things in a different light, but I think have us look at things in a different light, like really be on our P's and Q's as we are going into the new year. So I just love this. It felt so refreshing. And I totally agree. Having support in all and any area of your life, just as we talked about before, is absolutely crucial. And I know we both can attest to the fact that that is one of the biggest reasons why we are the way we are today and who we are today, and why we can sit here and share this information with you and hopefully be able to help you as well. So I'm excited. Let's do 2025.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Thanks for being here, Alex.
Thank you for having me.
And that's a wrap for this week's episode of the Fit Bottom Girls podcast. But don't worry, we're dropping new episodes every Thursday. In the meantime, head over to the show notes for all the links from today's episode, or go to fitbottomedgirls.com/podcast to catch up on past episodes. Thanks for being here. I'll see you next week.